Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, Kathi Sohn, who's here to share with us her book, You Made It Up, Now Stop Believing It. The powerful body memory process for childhood vow discovery and release. So are you looking to release the patterns that keep you stuck in life? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. In 2020, Kathi Sohn retired from her first career of 36 years with the United States Defense Department. Widowed in 2019, Kathi decided to devote her life to sharing the powerful work her beloved husband created, the body memory process for discovering and releasing childhood trauma and beliefs. Kathi wrote a best-selling book on the body memory process, You Made It Up, Now Stop Believing It, released in 2023. This powerful book provides background information via interesting case studies and the entire body memory process for childhood vow discovery and release. Kathi now is a speaker and a coach who is dedicated to mitigating the cycle of intergenerational trauma. So welcome to the show, Kathi Sohn.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. Can you share a little bit about your background and how you became a core belief expert?
Sure. Well, this is actually sort of a second career for me. I spent 36 years working for the federal government. I started out in the Army, a tour in the Army, and that led me to the work with the Defense Department. And what led me to this work is actually my late husband, David Sohn. So I like to say that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants when I do my work. When I first met David, I was probably about halfway into my federal career, and David was just writing a book on his work at the encouragement of his clients. So David's work was called The Body Memory Process, and that's what my book is about. Because I realized when I lost David about 6 years ago that I wasn't going to be just the wind beneath his wings anymore. I was going to be the face of the work, and it was going to be important for me to write about it. And I took a different approach to explaining the work as well. So that was really what led me into this was really David and not wanting his work to just disappear. And of course, I myself was greatly healed by using the work myself. So that has allowed me to really be out into the public more, because I wasn't always that way. I spent a lot of time kind of hiding, and this work helped me to really come out of my shell.
Well, first off, I'd like to say I'm so sorry for your loss. And when we lose someone we truly love, it's so difficult and time doesn't seem to matter there.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. And what a profound gift to, learn this work, be part of it, and also to carry this legacy on. So, who exactly do you help with your work and how do you help them?
Well, everybody on the planet can potentially be helped by this work because we all create these beliefs when we're very, very young. If any of your listeners are familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton, he talks about these operating programs that we create because we come in as kind of a clean slate, but we need these operating programs, and we do that by observing what goes on around us and having our own experiences. The problem comes in when we're not logical. We're very aware and tuned in, but we're not logical. We're the center of our own world when we're not even 7 years old. And we tend to think that things are our fault. So there is this perfect storm for us to be able to not only create these operating systems for life that fortunately we get a lot of good things, of how life works, how to make life work well. Fortunately, we can get a lot if we have positive role models and our parents and our caregivers. But unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that gets wired in that is not very supportive of certainly of the adult. So kids, it doesn't. If kids have a belief, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, which is a very common one because a lot of times parents are kind of busy and they have a tendency to try to put in correction before the child even has a chance to talk and explain, just what was going on for me during that event. So when I work with parents, I tell them, just before you put in your message, have that opportunity to really listen and give that child to explain what's going on and to be listened to. So, we're putting in all of these messages, and when we're children, it's not quite so uh, detrimental as when we grow up and we get a job and we're out in the world, and then suddenly these beliefs about ourselves become very, very, very limiting and can even be really self-destructive. So, because everybody does this, the way that I help people a lot of times is finding entry through their pain points. And there are many different ways that these beliefs, or what David called childhood vows, because like wedding vows, they're a promise to ourselves, not to someone else, but they're a promise to ourselves. This is how I'm going to live my life, even though again we're not consciously doing it. It's it's happening sort of behind the scenes through our emotions, largely, of when we experience things. And of course there can be traumatic events, and then those become especially powerful and ingrained in our body memory. So how do I help people who can be helped is people who are experiencing lack and limitation, say financially, or problems with their health, problems with relationships, because these beliefs that we have touch all of it. I could talk for a long, long time about this, and because David had discovered literally about 1,000 of them, and we have the collection of those and how they can actually show up in our bodies as pain, tension, and disease. So it's about looking at your life in sort of a 360-degree way of what's going on, and then also listening to your body, because your body, as Dr. Candace Pert, who wrote Molecules of Emotion, said, your body is your subconscious mind.
Well, you can drop the mic on that then, Oh my goodness. I mean, because this is such a big deal for so many people. And so how do folks know that they might be carrying around self-limiting beliefs from early childhood? I mean, that seems like such a long time ago.
Yes, and a lot of people might think, oh well, it doesn't matter, that's all in the past, but it isn't really. And that's what I tell people is just take a look at what's going on, because life is really designed to work well. So if you have a habit that you have been struggling with, that you just can't break, or you want to create maybe a new habit to replace it, um, again, any of those areas, and I like to say that our those collection of beliefs, David called them your life script, and I think other people too, because again, he had a lot. He pulled together a lot of the wisdom he pulled together lots of research that other people were saying as well to create this work. So yeah, um, your life script can lead you either to repeat crisis. So you end up maybe in the financial crisis where you're just living from paycheck to paycheck, you're having financial problems, or you might have a real serious health challenge, or you may have a tendency to just sabotage all your relationships. So there's different degrees, of course, of crisis, but we experience these, and a lot of times we feel like we're just caught in that loop. The other way that our life script keeps us in limitation is through being in a comfort zone. So maybe, I don't think I'm really, like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I'm not broke. Or, um, I'm in a relationship it really isn't all that great. Maybe the other person puts me down all the time, but hey, it's uncomfortable, but mostly comfortable because we get into this routine and we forget that there can be something better for us. We sort of settle for less. So those are just different ways. And when I work with people, there's objective and subjective ways that they discover what these beliefs are. And there's a whole, like in the book, there's a chapter dedicated to all the questions that have to do with when you were in the womb, like when your mom found out that she was pregnant with you, when you were in the womb, what your birth was like, and then those first very critical 7 years. So lots of ways to kind of triangulate at what those beliefs are, again, based upon mostly just taking a good look at what do I want to change, but I just don't know how to change it.
Well, how empowering is that? Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Kathi Sohn in regards to her new book, You Made It Up, Now Stop Believing It: The Powerful Body Memory Process for Childhood Vow Discovery and Release. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Kathi Sohn, who's here sharing with us her new book, You Made It Up, Now Stop Believing It: The Powerful Body Memory Process for Childhood Vow Discovery and Release. Do we need somebody other than ourselves to look in and say, hey, you've got a pattern happening here? Is that something that people discover and then they start working with you?
Yes, a lot of times in relationship, people are mirrors for us. So that's the way that we, find out. Yeah, there's something that I just I don't know how to change, and yeah, the different ways that people come to the work. sometimes it is just through the book, looking at, okay, there is a way for me to do this, and it starts to make sense when they read the book, and it's written in the first part with case studies, so they can relate perhaps to the person in the story who's telling the story about how this all came about for them, what was the breakdown in their life, and what was going on in their childhood. What did they discover was the non-working beliefs, and then how were they able to break free, and how did their life change after doing the work? So there's various ways that people can come to the work. Sometimes it's just trying one thing and it doesn't, but hey, I'm just going to try this and give it a shot.
Yeah, and really kind of dive into a new practice. Can you give us an example of someone that you've worked with?
Sure. See, one person that just sort of leapt into my mind was someone who we'll call Frank. And he did not like his work very much. He didn't like talking to the boss. And he also felt like he was a sort of a couch potato because he would come home from work and he wanted to be more active. So there were a few things that he just didn't like about his life. And when we explored the beginnings, we learned that Frank had a father who was a rageaholic, and the family members all dealt with it and sort of coped in their own way. And Frank had older brothers, and the way that he coped is he would say that his older brothers told him to do it, to do what he did, and his dad would kind of go storming off after his older brothers, and he was off the hook. Well, one of the things Frank didn't like was that at work he often would pass the buck. And if the boss started talking to him about a problem, even if he wasn't accusing Frank would get all nervous and say, I don't know, go ask Joe, just trying to get the heat off of him. And when we discovered this, he was like, oh, wow. So that's where all that came from. And where he learned to pass the buck was by blaming his brothers so that his father would just stop yelling at him. And he also learned that, or remembered actually, when he started going back into his past, that he'd love to read, and he'd come home and he'd get on the couch and he'd read a book. And his father said, I'm so disappointed in you that you are so lazy. And he started thinking of himself as lazy, and that becomes a part of your behavior. These predominant beliefs and these thoughts, it guided his behavior. And it got to the point where even though he couldn't will himself to just go to the gym. It was like he had to give in to this behavior pattern because it was so ingrained in his body memory.
Wow, that's just amazing what he went through, and that discovery, that self-discovery, did it really kind of set him free from that
It
limiting
did.
belief?
Yeah, it really did. He discovered beliefs like, I'm not the one you want. Which was about, passing the buck. He discovered I am lazy. And when he was able to do the work, which again is all the process is all laid out in the book, when he was able to do that work, it really set him free. He actually got a new job where he was able to be more active. He was out in the in nature, and he was off of he had childhood onset diabetes, and he was off of his diabetes medication for the first time in his life because he had adopted a healthy lifestyle. And he also realized the power of the mind. So he was starting to do work around his beliefs, around his illness as well.
Well, we know you have this wonderful book. You made it up. Now stop believing it. Do you work with people one-on-one as well?
Yes, one-on-one and group coaching.
That's just so remarkable. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Yes, absolutely. So KathiSohn.com, and I'm going to spell it because Kathy can be spelled so many different ways. So it's KathiSohn.com. And that's where you can learn more about the book and about my coaching programs. And about my speaking, because I'm also looking for places to speak about this work. and not just the work itself and all the things I can offer, but I love to inspire people to open their minds to the fact that, yes, we create all of this when we're young, and then we forget about it.
I think it's so empowering. We can undo all these things that we decide at such a young age that don't serve us as we get older.
Yes. Yeah, because
Wow.
that same power that you used, that God gave us to be able to create these our own lives, is the same power that you can use now as adults to create the life you want. Like you don't need to create like children anymore, just soaking it all up and jumping to conclusions. You now have a logical adult mind, and you can be very clear. And that's what the book also talks about in part 3, is about, okay, now what do you want, and some guidance there for how to create the life you do want.
Well, Kathi, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
I loved it. Marianne, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Kathi. Make sure to pick up a copy of You Made It Up, Now Stop Believing It, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, if you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.